Hello, my name is Raman Nimmala and I'm a filmmaker.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. So can you start out by introducing a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I'm a writer and director and I produce as well. I've made the thing that I do is basically storytelling. And so the process of creating an idea and then sharing it in the medium of film, which is um, the process of writing a screenplay, bringing a team together, making that screenplay. I'm interested in telling stories that kind of represent the intersectional background that I come from, because I was born in India, raised between India and America. And so I grew up on both of these cultures, South Indian films, Telugu films. I'm a Telugu boy. And at the same time, growing up on Harry Potter, watching all the Hollywood stuff that comes out. So um, I'm interested in the spaces and stories that are between um, these two cultures, and just between multiple cultures in general.
What
And
originally inspired you to join this career area?
what originally inspired me is that um, I grew up in a family that loves films, and being when I first moved to the U.S., something that a way that our family like held on to the culture from back in India is we'd go to movies every weekend. And at the time when I was growing up, like to watch Indian film, like a South Indian film, a Telugu film, there was only like one theater in Jersey that played it. And so when there was a big uh, actor or star like Chiranjeevi's film that came out, it would be the day that like our whole family would come together. Everybody that moved to the US, 20, 30 tickets would be booked, and we'd all go to the theater, and there would be so many more people like us, right? And there would just be this euphoria around watching this person on screen. And I was small, so I remember him being so big on the screen. And I was just taken taken by the kind of power that storytelling has, and I would walk out of those theaters and everybody would be talking about like how they thought about the film, right? How, like, what they felt, um how they acted. And I'm like, wow, people really care about this like story. And so I would think about the story myself. And similarly with stuff that I would see, like I didn't know English when I moved here. So like watching like whatever was on cable TV, like Judge Judy reruns and things like that, was the way I learned English. So storytelling is the way that I held on to culture and also like learned a new culture. It's like how I learned what dating is. It's how I like learned how to like um how like things that you wouldn't know growing up as a um first generation kid in the US, right? So I I appreciate the way that you can like see into different worlds. And when I got the opportunity, I wanted to do that too. And I'm lucky to be doing that. Yeah.
Um, I know it's definitely very relatable. I love watching TV shows and movies, and I feel like you learn a lot about the world just through like seeing the stories that people tell.
Mm.
So, because there are so many stories to tell, how do you decide which one you want to tell?
I think it always starts with like what's personal, right? So there are so many stories to tell, and like if you're like me, you watch something or you read something and it just really excites you, like the way like stories affect me, and then I'm like, I wish I told that story, right? Or like I want to tell a story like that. So I totally understand that idea of like there's so many stories to tell, there's so many ideas, but it's not a very like it's a very organic process in terms of like the kind of when stories come together, right? In terms, it starts with like a seed of an idea, it slowly starts to grow from you working on it, but also your experiences, what you watch, how you live, things that you remember from your memories, right? And the things that often end up gaining more specificity and like more color in terms of ideas are the ones that come somewhere related to you. You know, you have some relation to them. So to I think the ones that I want to tell are the ones that come together and you see them clearly, you know, more than like, this is what I want to do. So like, this is how like, I want to tell a thriller. So I will tell a thriller. Like, I don't think of it that way. I think of it as like, the stories coming together in this way. And the best way to tell it would be to be maybe a thriller, or the best way to tell it would be a genre like slice of life. So it's basically, to answer your question, what's personal to you is to me is the way I find the right stories. Yeah.
What path did you take to become a film director today?
I originally, like I said, I grew up around films in terms of like watching them, consuming them. But there was no filmmakers in our family or like anybody who really pursued the arts career. A lot of people in my family pursued the STEM career. And I grew up just doing that because that's what we know. And like now as a filmmaker, my parents are incredibly encouraging of my career, right? But at the time, like I didn't even know it was an option, right? So I pretty much studied STEM through like my like primary school, high school. I went to an engineering school for undergraduate, and I studied like math and finance, and then I worked in finance in New York. And I think that was when, and throughout this time, you're consuming films. You're like, one day I'll get into that. I don't know how, I don't know in what capacity, but I'm going to be involved, you know, is like the thought. And when I moved to New York, New York is a place of people with so many different kinds of interests, and you can pursue each interest. You know, there's like a very deep niche for each interest, and there's a very big independent filmmaking scene that happens here. You know, from people that are film school students all the way to like making features. You know, so like while I was working in my like finance career, on the weekends and on my free time, I would go help out on these sets and like just to learn a little bit more about filmmaking. And during that time, like I met other filmmakers. For the first time, I met other people who pursued the arts in my life. And I was like, oh, this is like something you learn how to do. And like, this is something like um, anybody can express themselves. And then how you go about expressing yourself in film is like, there's a craft to it, there's a way to go about it. And like I saw these people doing this, and so that made me interested in telling my own stories. I made some friends while doing this, and so I started making some short films myself. And that eventually led me to taking those short films and like the work that I was like just doing as a hobby, and I applied to film school. And I mostly did it to know kind of, okay, would a film school accept the kind of work that I've done so far? So in some way, because you don't get to show it to everybody, right? So I wanted to see if like there was some like potential in what I was doing, because you don't know. Your friends tell you like it's great. Everyone tells you it's great, like when you do something and they keep encouraging you. But you don't know how seriously to take it. So I'm like, oh, if they take me seriously, then I feel like I can pursue this. And I wasn't sure if I was going to go to film school. I just wanted to know, like, as a validation. And then along the way, I met more people who went to film school, and I realized it was a great way to accelerate your learning and also like meet a community of other filmmakers and artists. And so I went to do my master's in film in fine arts at Columbia. in film. And so that was my transition. And from there, just being immersed in it. And this is what I do now. Yeah.
What you said about like wanting validation from like professionals or like people who see this career every day, like I found that really like relatable. Like I get that completely.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned that you met a very strong filmmaking community while in New York. We were wondering what other careers there were in filmmaking.
So there's, okay, how to phrase. So there's three, I think, key roles that come together before a film goes to sets, right? Which is a writer, a director, and a producer, right? And the writer is the person who creates the idea, like, and puts it on paper. The director is somebody who takes what's on paper and creates a vision for how they want to like go about it, right? Like, where will it take place? What kind of story am I telling? Who do I want in this? Um, uh, uh, and then I think that's a good way. The director is somebody who sets the vision, right? And then sometimes these two people are the same person, right? And it could also be with the producer. And the producer is somebody who helps take this vision that this director has and helps facilitate the reality of it, like bringing the team together, the figuring out, oh, I want to shoot like in a beach. Okay, what are all the options of beaches that we can do? You know, where can we shoot? And like, how do we get like a crew there and like shoot? And those kind of things. So writer creates, director has the vision, and then the producer helps facilitate that vision. So these people come together before the film even goes on sets, right? And then these people bring the team together that eventually comes together for pre-production. And other roles that exist are like a director of photography, who's the person who's the person that's telling the story through the camera, right? And also knows how to light for the film, and who knows the technicals about using the camera and operating the camera and like creating the visual that the director wants to see, right? And under the director of photography, there are like a bunch of people, right? For example, an assistant camera who helps the director of photography, who also pulls focus. There's gaffers and grips, who are people who like help shape the light, you know, to the director of photography's vision, right? There's under the director, there are assistant directors, right? Who it's organized differently across the cultures that I've worked in, but like generally they're there to like um be the director's assistants across different departments, right? And the other departments include like production design, sound, um, sound, the actors, of course, right? Yeah, those are the one I feel like whoever I'm blanking on, whatever department I'm blanking on, will be mad at me. But like those, I would say that's how it goes. Like these are the people that come together before the film, and then there's sound directors, photography, production design, costumes, and there's a department head for each per thing, and then there's people that work for that department head.
What are some role models you've had throughout your career?
I love that question. Just gonna list a laundry list of people, and they come across like all the cultures I grew up in, and I think for me, I love Shaker Kamala is a filmmaker that I really love. Right, I love the way he takes takes something that I love his perspective on film, and I love the way he like creates feelings out of like very simple interactions, you know, and people that feel familiar to me. And I love A.R. Rahman. I love how, like, you know, he finds his way of like expressing his interest in music across mediums, across like in film, like even for a director's vision for a situation of a song, like somehow still, you know, like when you listen to an A.R. Rahman song, like A.R. Rahman's like really having fun creating this music, you know. I love Edward Yang. He's a Taiwanese filmmaker. He's like, maybe nobody will make this comparison, but in my mind, like he's kind of like Shekhar Kamala. Like the feeling that you get from watching his films are um, are are the same. Yeah, and then I love the writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She wrote film books like Americana, Half of a Yellow Sun, and like similarly, she grew up between cultures. So like her understanding of the nuances of bicultural life and like is like really like spot on. So I love Gabriel Garcia Marquez. He's another writer. He writes magical realism. His book 100 Years of Solitude is something that I really enjoy. So yeah, like these my role models come across mediums and come across cultures, and like these are some of them.
As a filmmaker, you're always doing new things or making new stories and watching them in action. However, what is the most rewarding moment in your career?
I think so. I'm still at the front end of my career, so I hope there are many more rewarding moments. And uh, I think one that comes recently in memory is being at the Sundance Film Festival and showing our film to an audience, right? And it's a short film, so not often do you get to see like your film in a theater. You don't get to, and like with people that you don't know, right? Oftentimes the people that watch these films are people that you know, friends, family, like professors, like critiquing your work, or other classmates. So to show a film that, you know, that came just from my personal experience, something that I wanted to like express on screen, and then to be able to show it to like a bunch of audience, including my parents, who for some reason it was the first time they were watching it, though I made it like over the scope of a year, you know. And like to see what came across to these people, you know, what resonated with them, and then what they engaged with, and like how they related to it was a really like rewarding experience, you know. And I think that's kind of the end of the cycle of like one loop of filmmaking, which is like from going from like a seed of an idea to making it, to putting it together, to doing all the post-production on it, and then to show it in a theater is like the most rewarding thing, you know. And to see that like people do relate in some way to, and like are trying to understand the things that you're showing on screen, you know. So I would say screening it at Sundance was one of the most rewarding experiences in recent times. Yeah.
Congratulations on getting your film into the Sundance Festival. It is such a huge accomplishment.
We know directing a movie can get really busy, especially at like the peak moments. So how do you maintain a good work-life balance during those times?
I don't think I've figured it out yet, to be honest. And I'm still learning, right? The process of living life as a filmmaker, right? Because it's a little bit more on your terms, and that while that freedom is wonderful, sometimes you're like, wow, I really, really wish I just had a job to show up to at 9 a.m. every day, you know? And so there's the time you spend before shooting, right? Which is like the process of writing or like bringing a team together, pre-production. And I would say that feels kind of similar to a day-to-day, the day-to-day of anybody. You wake up, you do some work, and then you have lunch, go on, you have some meetings. And then when it comes to the set days, that's a completely different life, right? Like when you're on set or like going into set, and that's like kind of like all hands on deck all the time. Generally, sets have certain, like, they have call sheets, right? And so these call sheets have different um, timings, like 8-hour, 12-hour call sheets, and they go from like 10 to 6, or they go from like they have like night call sheets that go from like 6 to 2 a.m. So you kind of basically work off of like whatever schedule that you're shooting, right?
We know work-life balance is something a lot of people struggle with. What are some other challenges that you have specific to your field?
I would say as a filmmaker, it's like kind of like your passion to tell stories, right? And that brings you into it. And so the struggle can be that you're thinking about it all the time, you know, like whatever you're working on, like whatever you um want to do next, whatever you're creating, it's always running more or less in the back of your mind, and uh so I think that like separation from your thought, like from leaving your head and being present with other people or other situations, um can be, it's not a struggle, but it's kind of like something to remind yourself to do. Another like challenge of being a filmmaker is that there's so many different paths you can pursue, like in terms of like what to do next. It's not so linear. It's not like, hey, I'm an analyst, I'm now an associate, now I'm a VP, managing director, right? It's like there's so many different ways to go about filmmaking. So like kind of navigating what's the next story you want to tell, like you had asked Sazra, or like navigating like how many meetings can I have in a day, right? Or like I think those things, figuring out the time that's personal to you so you can create, figuring out the time that's like interacting with the business of film and like engaging with other people, and then figuring out the time that you should not be doing any of this and just be like enjoying time with people and family and friends, and like getting new experiences that hopefully you can tell stories about. I think time management and like being present and taking it day to day can be like a, a challenge with being a filmmaker.
A lot of careers nowadays are changing based on either AI or just a normal career evolution.
Mhm.
So, how do you foresee filmmaking changing the next 10 years?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. Uh, Everything is just a guess, and everything, um, uh, and I think what I understand is that it changes a lot, this industry anyway. Like uh, uh, people always say nobody knows like what works or what stories catch an audience's interest. So I think the job is just to like, if this is what you want to do, one is very lucky to do this, like to tell stories as a career, right? So like I think just showing up every day and then being open to like whatever technologies that come in, and seeing how you want to engage with it, or like not engage with it, seeing what works, in terms of process, in terms of um, uh, seeing what works to like enable your vision, right? I think um, the way to go about it. So like I try not to forecast too much, because there's too many unknowns and it's just guesswork, right?
Do you think filmmaking is a career to consider?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you find interest in this, like it's just such a joy, like to do this, for many different reasons. One is like, and there's no particular order to this. Everyone does it for a different reason, I feel. But the idea of literally writing something on a paper and then seeing it become real with people acting in it, actors acting in it, locations being invented, like found from what you had written down, scenes being shot or like executed or like made from like something you just wrote on paper. And then that feeling of seeing it really happening in front of you is such a privilege. Seeing that come together and sharing it with another, like an audience, people beyond you, you know, and having them react to it, good, bad, whatever, is like, it's another privilege, you know. It's like kind of like the process of like in some way sharing your experiences or something that you want to say, and then other people having a conversation about it, is a great way to like learn, you know. And so that's great. I think the filmmaking, as much as it's about like a person's vision and like like bringing it together and like telling a story on screen, it's also like a very team sport, you know. There's a lot of collaboration involved, and there's like all the people that all the roles that we discussed beforehand. And I think like that idea of like bringing a vision to life with so many different people with so many different skill sets, like each doing their own thing, to bring it to life is an incredible like part of it. And then like there's just, I think, like I had said about like what inspires me, I think film is a way that people like, it doesn't put up barriers, but it like brings down barriers, right? Like you can watch films across cultures, you can see into like different worlds and spaces that you don't know about through the process of like experiencing story. So I think it's totally a career to consider.
Hey guys, we just finished our interview with Raman, the filmmaker. Here's our thoughts. I really personally liked how fresh his take was. He said he's a little newer to the field, but you can definitely see like a more, definitely like more modern takes with his filmmaking, and he talks like a lot about how he brings like, you know, like things he's learned from other people in, things he's learned, like things he's had in his background, how he brings that in, and I just think that's really great.
Yeah, I really loved like the way he got into filmmaking. Like he just knew from the beginning like that's where he wanted to be. When him and his families would go watch indie movies in like theaters, and he just said that's how he got to retain his old culture and learn a new culture. Like I feel like that's such a authentic way of looking at filmmaking.
Yeah, I think it was great how he was able to find a space between both cultures to capture both. And like again, he's a child of two worlds, and I think it's amazing how he's showing it.
I know that even, okay, I know a lot of people who bro, okay, who had careers that they wanted to do when they were little, but you know, they were a little scared, they didn't really know what it would be like. And I think Ramen was a great example of how like you can really just go for it at any time, you know, like don't hold yourself back.
Mm-hmm. And I also really liked like when he asked him like how the career is gonna evolve. He like was straightforward. He was like, I don't know, and that's really valid because we really don't know how like AI or anything is gonna change our careers.
And on that note, how he answered that about how it's always changing and how filmmaking is never going to not change. I think this would be a really good career for someone that likes to live in a fast-paced, changing
It's not a very static
world
career
and
at all.
environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do y'all have any?
Like how all of his films like meant something to him a lot. That also was like something that stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, real is the word, right?
Yes.
For the interview.
Definitely.
I really liked how I could connect with all of what he's gone through, because he started off as like coming here and then not knowing anything, and then, and then he went on liking something, but then with I'm assuming with stereotypes in culture, he picked a more safer option, but then was like, no, I don't want to do this because I need to pursue what I want and forget what other people think and go with my dream.
Yeah, follow your dreams. You will end up in the Sundance Festival.
Yeah,
that's a
really
good way
cool,
to
yeah.
put it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's everything we have for today.
Ooh, there was one more thing I wanted to. You remember how we talked about these struggles of filmmakers? That the ideas just keep running in your head.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
like
Yes,
it's
yes.
like really hard to separate the work you're doing with your daily life because like that's so fair. Like when you have something really important to you, like that's all you're gonna be able to think
Exactly,
about.
and also because you get your ideas from like for filmmaking from your day-to-day
Yes.
life. Because you can always be thinking, oh, I could turn this into a movie. Like this is such a great idea. So like, definitely
The
do
way
that.
he conveyed it, it kind of reminded me of our discussions here at Careers to Consider when we're brainstorming for a new season or something, and then we just keep having like ideas and ideas and ideas. Like, oh my gosh, like we should do this for a highlight video, or this is what we should make our new intro. Like, it's just, I like, it's really like, it's
Resonates
good
with
to
you.
connect with it, yeah, and then I can also like see what he's talking about in my head.
Yes. Okay, so I think that's all for our takeaways today.
Yes, it is. Please check out our video. There's a lot of great stuff in there.
Bye.
Bye.